It's 7:03 here on Richmond's Morning News on News Radio WRVA. Thanks to my son, Rigney, for coming on the program and explaining maritime law. Did you know all of that, Super Dave Ayler, about blue water, green water, brown water, Navy?
I knew the blue water and the brown water, but I didn't know there was a green.
Yeah, and then I thought it's fascinating. I really didn't understand how many ships are at sea at any one time. So, okay, helicopter dad, helicopter parents, when he went on his first ship, you could track it because they have beacons, and there's a couple of websites you could pay, and it'll show you exactly where the ship is. So we were able to track him on his training ship when he went to Hawaii and then back. And then we were able to track him a couple other times when he's going back and forth across the Pacific. And then there's times we're just kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere and you go days without seeing where they are. But once you start looking at those and you see all these little dots over here, and now you're starting to see them as Fox News is showing them, Newsmax is showing them through the Strait of Hormuz. And it's hard to fathom how many ships are actually moving at sea right now, trying to move all of this liquid cargo, the oil, the dry cargo, those big containers that you see, the container ships and the car carriers and all the rest of it. It is absolutely fascinating how the maritime industry works. And I don't think any of us ever really paid attention to the entire supply chain until COVID hit and you couldn't get anything coming across, and all those containers were stuck on one side of the Pacific or the other. And now we really understand how truly amazing the global supply chain is, getting things from here, there, and everywhere else. So thanks to him for kind of going through all of that for us. You want to comment? You can. 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140 on the James River Air Text line. Congress is coming back today. Oh, boy, hey, congratulations. You guys are coming back to work. Let's get some things done today. They'll be without two members of Congress. Two have resigned. That's what I want to talk about this portion of the program. Yesterday, we talked about Eric Swalwell. He's out. Try to defend, and even his friends came to stab him and say, get out, we don't need you anymore. Tony Gonzalez is one. We haven't talked that much about Tony Gonzalez. He's not as high profile as Eric Swalwell, but he was a Republican in Texas, accused of inappropriate conduct with a staff member, and she later committed suicide. How are these guys still in Congress? And this isn't a Republican, a Democrat issue. This is a American people issue. This is, I think, should be bipartisan, that all of us should agree to that. You look at what Gonzalez did and how it wasn't immediately like, if there's any impropriety around you, you don't need to be in Congress. You don't need to be serving the people of Texas. You don't need to be in the House of Representatives. And there weren't a lot of Republicans that came to his defense, but worse, there weren't more Republicans pulling him aside saying, listen, I'm sorry. Due process, you'll get your day in court and everything else, but this is a place of honor where we have the solemn obligation of doing the people's business. And if you're under a cloud of suspicion, can you really do the people's business? Maybe it's time for you to tap out and go. But why not? Why didn't he? What was George Washington? A general and a gentleman farmer. What was he not? A career politician. He walked away from serving. I'll ask you this right now. When was the last time you had anybody leave the halls of Congress and just said, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going back to private life. I'm going to go back to be a teacher. I'm going to go back to be a lawyer. I'm going to go back to be a businessman. I don't need to stay in here for 50 years. You know, there's a seat in Michigan that Debbie Dingell has that seat. I want to say that seat has been represented by her father-in-law, her family, for almost 90 years. 90 years, one person in that seat, one family in that seat. You see wives serving husbands' terms out and then rerunning. You see sons carrying on for their fathers, almost like it's royalty in D.C. at times. I know we get on the Bush dynasty and all the rest of those, but honestly, there's more dynasties in D.C. than we can actually think of. Why don't people ever leave D.C.? Because it's powerful. You can make money. It's an elite class. And that's why nobody ever leaves. When's the last time? You know what? I'll tell you this. It's more of a shock when people say, I'm not going to run for office. People, why aren't you running for office? It should be, well, why are you running an office? Why don't you go get a job in the private sector? You've served your country. Let's move on and do something else. But instead, we have people that say, I'm going to run for one term. And then before you know it, they've served 4 terms in the Senate. I'm just going to be here for 3 terms in Congress. You see them, next thing you know, they've been there for 30 years. The system doesn't reward people going back into the private world. The system rewards people staying in Congress forever. And that's part of the problem. Now you go to Eric Swalwell. So we beat up Eric Swalwell. I did it on Newsmax. I did it on this radio show yesterday. I'm going to do it again today. He should have been drummed out of Congress a long time ago. When they found out that he was having an inappropriate relationship with a Chinese spy, why they didn't throw him out then, I'll never know. But the Democrats defended. Then they denied until they couldn't do it anymore. Then they stick their knives in his back and they throw him out like yesterday's trash. Why is that? The system right now rewards people like Eric Swalwell. Visibility, access. You have a platform, and you could be a warrior for whatever side puts you up there. But you know what the system doesn't do? It doesn't find decent, good, hardworking people to run for office. Why would you? Why would you run for office? Would you want to take the hits? Would you want to have people go through your garbage and go through your life? Because this isn't just about one politician. Because if it was about one politician, it wouldn't keep happening. This happens over and over and over and over again. That's why I have the House Ethics Committee. So I have a slush fund to pay off victims of people that were mistreated by members of Congress. You know, there is one of those. And it's also because the system covers up for each other. The Republicans weren't willing to kick Tony Gonzalez out the moment that they heard about this. They weren't putting pressure on him to leave. They kind of gave him the Heisman. They kind of shunned him, but I don't think that was enough. And the Democrats, they just absolutely lauded Eric Swalwell, built him up even when they knew about the Chinese spy. But I guess Chinese spy, inappropriate relations, and it's a morning show, folks. That's why I'm keeping this clean, because you got kids in the car. Inappropriate relations, Chinese spy. Let me weigh the two. Working with a foreign national who was a Chinese spy was not disqualifying for the Democrats, but inappropriate relations with staff members was. Okay, whatever. But the system rewards these type of people. And it punishes everyone. It keeps people out that might want to run for office. How many of you ever said, like, I could do a better job than these clowns? I should run for office. How many of you have had somebody go, you know what, you should run for office? And then you think about it and you go, why would I do that? The New York Times, the Washington Post, LA Times will rip me apart. Opposition research will go in to find everything I possibly have done, and if they can't find anything, they'll make it up. Why would you put your family through that? I asked this of a couple different candidates. So I got to know Mark early. He was a member of the House of Delegates. Really nice guy. Really decent guy. Sat down and talked to him a number of times. And there's one point I sent him a text when May Navarre was running ads that made him look like the most evil, horrible person on the face of the earth. I'm like, what is that like? Like, I get people throwing side eye and giving me the smoke, but that's my job. I'm a talk show host. I'm going to give you my opinion. People will disagree with me, and that's great. I'm glad they do. But the personal attacks and the vendettas that I see in politics, would any of us actually really want to put ourselves out there to face that? I asked that of Jason Miyares. What's it like when your family? I mean, listen, if you want to do it, that's great. If your family has to stand there and take that abuse, that's a lot different. Your kids, your girls, seeing you get abused like that. And that's why the system of ours needs a complete overhaul. Right now, we look for someone who looks like Eric Swalwell. This looks like a Ken doll. He's perfect. There's nothing to him, but he's willing to stand there, take the slings and arrows, and he's going to be part of the machine. The machine rewards people like that. Instead of finding people that will think for themselves, stand up for the American people and allow the government that we were handed to be the best it can. And then when they're done with it, they go back into private life like George Washington. They don't stay in Congress for years and years and years and years and years. I'm sorry. My thought is, as we get closer to 250 years of American exceptionalism and of this great American experiment, politicians should be public servants first and lawmakers second, meaning go to Congress, do your best, and then get out and let someone else come in there so it's a representative of the people, by the people, not of the political class. Because when you do that, you get the Tony Gonzalez's, you get the Eric Swalwell's, and you probably have someone out there who would be a much better congressman, but they wouldn't dare do this because the machine wouldn't let them in the first place. That's why people sell their soul to go to D.C. That's why when we look at D.C. and they have a, 18-point approval, look who we send there. It's people that are willing to go through that. People that are willing to do that and then buy into the machine, and then they stay there forever. And you wonder why we're not happy. People always talk about we need term limits. We have term limits in Congress. Every 2 years, we could throw the bums out. Every 6 years, we could throw the bums out. It's up to the American people to use our opportunity to find new people, to bring in their fresh ideas. Again, the definition of insanity by Einstein, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. What do you guys think? Does the system reward people like Eric Swalwell that keep doing the things, they protect them because they're willing to take that first step, put themselves out there, put their family out there in order to sell your soul to be a part of the DC machine? I want to know what you guys think. 833